in this case it's the copy paper in force. Make sure you use the ruler to measure it. And what you're going to be doing is painting the landscape, sky. And we are going to, basically it's winter, it's a winter scene. So the bottom portion of your drawing or painting at this point will not be touched. So I'm still using my regular praying watercolors, nothing fancy here. I am going to tilt my plate a little bit so the colors that I've already mixed will stay there. What I've got there in it is the blue, and I've added a touch of black to it because I like it to have, I want to think about a winter sky. So I've got blue and black made, a good amount made. I also do not like to use this green right here right out of the container. I very rarely will do that. I'll either add a brown or a blue to it to change that color. It's not going to be a pure green. So just like I had you guys do before, you don't want to have that those colors be so limiting. So this green has a little brown in it. I can even go so far as to have a touch of blue in it. And so needs more green. Now I've powered it. There we go. And so I have two greens here. I'm going to try to keep them from connecting. They're going to connect now. Stop. I think I've won. Maybe. No. Let's try it again. Stop. This is what happens when you tilt the plate. Alright. Water loves to go to water, so it's going to do it no matter what you do. Alright. I think I've won. Okay. Sorry about that. Well, that's all part of the solution here. We're going to get to the solution. Here we go. Alright, so the one I'm going to use first, I want you to do at least 2 sheets. So that means you're going to have 8 pieces. I want 8 skies done with bursting. And so here I have, you can see the color I've got. You see my green. I'll probably grab some yellow, but I'm going to drag it down closer. Can you see what I'm doing? There. Okay. Alright, here we go. So this is actually copy paper. It is not real successful because the water immediately goes through and you can see all those little gray dots, and that's basically because the paper is completely saturated. Alright, there it is. I just got my fingers wet and stuck them on here, but at least it's not going to change the color any. I'm going to pull this color out and just wash it across here. And when I have my blue across, and again, this copy paper is never going to do as good as our watercolor papers. Watercolor papers are made specifically for water. Okay, so now I've got that, and I want to get it to the point before it goes too much further. I got to make sure I do a bursting into that area. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to tap along here, along the edge, and begin to let it burst. And you should have practiced this quite a bit on that first section. And I'm going to actually bring this up and think about it being like evergreen trees. So I'm tapping in a burst of trees. There's a little tree bush there. Before it completely dries, and it looks like it's dry. Oh, it's not moving. See how now it's not bursting over here at all? It's not going to do it because it's already too dry. I can try tapping in a few, but it's not going to do much. Alright, that's done. Stop. Don't mess with it. Set it aside. So I'm going to peel it up and set it aside. Now, on Friday, I actually did this demo with some of my classes. And so some of you were online when you saw that, the zooming. These are some of the ones that I did at that day. Those came out really pretty. And these are actually copy paper. So as bad as they look when they're wet, they actually come out fairly nice when they are done. And again, I was struggling, still struggling. So I was saying to you guys, I need you to do at least 8 of them. Now here's one that I did, and it was in the same class period. Here's another one. I started playing with the idea of, you can see browns and greens, the gray sky with white left in it. I did not wash through the light. And then I did some more of that one, so I kept going. I want you to do 8 of these. Sometimes there's hardly anything there. This one, it was too wet when I burst, and all of the tree line just really disappeared. Interesting tree thing there. This one, too dry. Sky looked pretty, but too dry when I tried to burst. Again, still counts though. We don't throw those away. So all of them, I want you to keep every one you do. You must do at least 8. Then, when you have done all 8 of those, you are then allowed to do at least 5, and I say minimum, of the sky with the sunset. So these were 2 of the ones that I did in my 2 classes, and then I did 1 more. Now we're talking about 8, about 10 pieces I did. My trees kind of bled out, but that would be perfect to go over the top of. If I went back over this with some more trees, wow. So it's dry now, and now I can play with it. Amazing stuff happening over here. And then right at the last one I did, finally, all day it took me to get here. Finally, on Friday, I finally got one I was really happy with. Gorgeous tree lines, some really cool stuff, maybe some mist coming up out of the, off the water maybe. It's cold. I want you to think of this area right here as snow. We're going to leave that as clean as possible. You're not going to mess with it at all. You can put a little shadow right at the base. So I'm going to do one real quick on watercolor paper. I'm going to do just the blue sky again on the watercolor paper. Getting it wet, washing across it. And I am going to leave some of those white areas. Let the white cloud things show through here. I'll just do a little bit there. Okay, remember I want it to be wet. And I am going to add a little more blue at the top. Maybe a tiny bit of black in it. I want it darker up there. It's always going to be lighter down here, right by the surface of the earth here. Right at that horizon line, it's going to be lighter. And I am going to pull some of this water off. Trying to think of a cloud. Okay, can't mess around too long. It's getting where it's getting dry. This is really wet right here, so I am going to pull some of that off. I think you guys can see that. I'm trying to pull some of the water off. Oh, okay, now you can see that shine right there. There we go. All right, so it is still wet, and I'm going to take some of this brown and some of my green, and I'm going to burst it right into that edge. And you can see it starting to move. And I'm going to tap some trees. This is like a cedar tree going up, or maybe it's evergreen, cedar being evergreen, or pine. That's what I was thinking of. Now, it's so wet that it bursted out, and I kind of lost some of it, but I'm going to see what happens. Okay, at this moment, if I'm kind of happy with it, yeah, that's fine. We'll leave it alone. I'm going to set this one aside. Even with that weird white line there, even though I'm not quite happy with that, I'm going to leave it alone. I'm going to set it aside. Maybe later that becomes a snowy hill. I don't know yet. And then I'm not going to waste a lot of your time. I am basically going to now do just, that was the winter sky I want you to do at least 8 of. And then what I'd like here is I would like to see you do maybe a sunset. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab some yellow and drop it in here. And some orange. And some of you guys in my classroom, I gave them a magenta. If you have a magenta, you can add that. I'm going to put some red up in here. And I'm going to go with a little purple too. Deepen my red up in here. And it looks like it's blue on the camera, but that's actually purple. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back in, drying my brush, rinse and dry. And I'm actually going to try to pull some white clouds into this. Now, I can't mess around too long with this sky, so that's one of the things a lot of people do is they'll play with that sky so long that it dries, because we got to burst into it. So I just got to pick out some. Those are pretty, and let it be. Now I'm going to grab my trees, and this time I'm going to go with like the blue and green. Did it dry too much? Let me see, I'll add some brown. It's bursting a little bit, so I've got like a little, okay, that's grasses. Those are grasses. That's fine. Again, playing with it. I haven't painted all weekend. And so, again, you see, I painted all day on Friday, and finally I got something decent. I haven't painted all weekend. I'm sitting down to do this now in front of you, and I'm struggling with it. It did not burst a lot because I did play with my sky an awful lot, but it's pretty, so it's worth it. I am going to throw a little shadow at the base here. When you're doing the shadow, I want you to take the blue and put a little bit of the black into it. Take a little of the water out, and you can just right along the edge tap in. Oh, good, that's awesome. Got a little green. It's bursting back down into it. That's okay. And so that's like the shadow of on the snow. And I can even take this one and go a little further, like it's the tree. And so it's bursting backwards. I'm doing better with my backwards bursting than I am doing. Okay, that'll work. Interesting stuff there going on. I'm going to leave it. I think it's pretty. Again, now I set it aside. Do not mess with it after that. Done, done, done. Set it aside, do another one. Set it aside, do another one. So you're going to come back when it's all said and done. You're going to lay them all out. And you're going to take a picture of all of your winter scenes, all of the ones that are the sunsets, and I actually would like to have them grouped together. And then I would like to have, I can't get it in here, I can't figure this new camera system. I've moved things around, but anyway, I want them all laid out together, and then I would like you to take a picture of them. When you have at least, I don't know, 5 or 6 of the sunsets. And little bit of, there's some fun trees in there. And even this one has that burst of sunlight. And like, I don't know, you could even do, it could almost say, oh, that could be a building back there. So there's some cool stuff. Anyway, I want you to play. Leave the bottom half alone. We will deal with it later. That's it. Have fun.